you so much for allowing me to give you a quick education on business valuations. I'm assuming that you've never seen this before, but if you have, it'll be repeat for you. Just to give you a quick background, I've been licensed since 1989 here in Florida. I specialize in construction and all aspects of it. Roofing, air conditioning. I've got 3 businesses under contract right now. I just sold a 525 roofing business in Pompano, and we have an air conditioning business under contract, 300. So this is what we do. I have a team of people that help me. I draft the contracts, I do the marketing. We're spending a fortune promoting our listings. I have other agents that we network with in the Association of Business Brokers. When I take a listing, you're going to see all the agents. We share the commission. We agree to work together. There's certain bylaws and education that we have. It's really very, very sophisticated, but it's specific and exclusive to business brokerage. We don't do residential, although some of the guys might, but I specialize strictly in small business. Having said that, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of things, and we can make any videos that you want. I can, print any of this out. We can get into as much detail as you like. Here's what I want you to know. Number 1, I'm a member of the BBF, the Business Brokers of Florida Association. It's a 20-year-old association, and we pool all of those solds together for information and statistic purposes in order to evaluate other businesses similar to the ones that have sold. Similar in respect to the adjusted net, which is what people are most interested in. What is their lifestyle? What is the gross sales? What is the down payment that is required? Can they afford it? What is the sales price? How many years will it take for them to be paying it back off? What's in the contract? All of these questions. We do the marketing. We spend tens of thousands of dollars promoting our listings. This is all that we do. So once we get all the details from our seller, get it organized and signed off on, I can go to market, approach all of my fellow colleagues, all of the clients that we have in our database, about 10,000 over the years, our retail marketing, our other association, Miami Board of Realtors, and I will structure it in such a way that it's organized and it's presented in the way the buyers are expecting to see it. So having said all that, let me get on with the show here, and I'll show you what we do. There's a database of active listings, which I can show you. There's 12 active painting businesses in Florida. Whether they're provable, whether they're overpriced or too demanding as far as a down payment, maybe the commission isn't right. There's all kinds of things I have to look at, but there's 12 painting competitors, let's say. Now, geographically, no, they're not in your backyard, so they might not be a competitor. But somebody that wants a painting business could also run a different type of business as well. It's important to consider everything. I'm going to go to the solds, because that's how we do our valuation, is we look at what worked for other sellers to see what might work for our seller. And then we get an idea as to how that happened. This is the sold database. And if just to prove a point here, if I pull up all these listings, these are the solds, almost 23,000 of them. Tax practices. If I click on any one of these, it pulls up a different type of business. It's alphabetical. Online retail, I can click on any of these and read them. Okay, web development. All these, this is what the effort of all of our business brokerages have done. But we want to narrow the search down to just what affects you and your business, what's relevant and most like your business. So I'm going to go to all Florida, and instead of searching here, I want you to see how specific we really are. I'm going to show you all the subcategories. I could say all automotive or all awards, but we have subcategories. So I know, just to show you how extensive this is, very, very detailed. So I can click on flowers and pull up all the sold flower shops. And then I can narrow it further by a time frame, a county, what it was earning, the sales, minimum, maximum, get very, very detailed. But for your application, I'm going to go to construction. It's not any construction business. It's specifically and only painting that we're interested in. So I'm going to click on painting. So now we're construction, contractor, painting. That's the only input that I have here. I'm not going to do anything else. That's the only point of contact. Here, there's 40 that have sold. Now, this is over 20 years. The economy was different, so I narrow it down a little bit further. But I just want to show you that there's 40 listings that have sold, all different earnings. See here we have adjusted net. Adjusted net means the net that might be on your tax return plus any additional benefits and or cash. That's a benefit that maybe didn't go through the banking. Maybe we forgot to make a deposit or many deposits. We deal with that all the time. This is the adjusted net, not the net that's on your tax return. This is, sorted. We're not going to compare you to a guy doing $2 million in profit or $28,000 you're in this grouping right here. You're most like these guys. But now I see the gross is much higher. I didn't hear 500,000 in sales, which is what I would expect. I heard 125. I need to get actual numbers from you to know who and how to compare you most accurately. Tonight I can just give you a very rough idea, a generalization as to how it might work. I need to know, they're not doing 125 in sales and keeping 125. None of the solds have done that. So it's reasonable for me to say there's a percentage of the sales that equals that 125. Let me clean up my search a little bit because all 40 of them are not most like the one I'm working with. Let me get rid of the small earners. So this is the adjusted net minimum. Now, I'm not going to plug in 125 over here because your gross sales can't be 125 and keep 125. Or maybe it is the way you're looking at it. However, nobody else out of the 40 did it that way. So I would need to understand what really came in, what really went out, including the cost of the supplies. So if you're just telling us what the labor was, which is what it sounds like, and your labor is 125, you kept 125, that's great. But we can't go to market like that when everyone else is going as the gross, including the supply cost. Even if you didn't tender the money, you still made those sales. So I'm going to put you against the guys that are doing $500,000 in sales until you give me a different number. And I'm happy to do this again anytime you want. I'm going to do a search. Here, I cut the list down to earners of 51 to 146. You're in this grouping somewhere. So I could really get rid of the smaller guys as well. And I would need to see the ratio of these. And when we're ready, I'm going to spend more time. What was their ratio of commercial versus residential? What year was this that it was sold? That matters. I don't know if any sold recently that are this size. But I'm just going to take these 14 as an example for you. And I'm going to do a calculate averages. Now, what does this tell me? It tells me days on market. This guy took 392 days to sell. 342, 396. These people were on the market way too long. This guy got out in 75 days. So you would say, why did he get out in 75 days? He was at 192. Well, it could be many things. It could be the agent didn't know what he was doing, didn't spend the right time on it, wasn't responsive to the prospects when he found them, wasn't networking properly, or it was the seller's fault. The business could have been underdocumented, too big of a deposit, too much of an asking price, too small of an earnings that nobody was interested in it. Many, many different kind of things. Maybe the books and records weren't clean. Maybe, it could have been a bad location. Many different things. So these are things that we will talk about. I don't expect 400 days. I know the things that cause that, and that's not normal. But the average as a group was 211 days. I don't expect you to be on the high side. If you follow my lead, I know what to do to get it sold faster than that. We get organized. We advertise in the right place. We network properly. We stay on top of it. We submit photos and P&L statements. We do it properly. The average down payment was 71%. You can ask for all cash, but the average was 71. So it's most likely the other buyers of painting businesses of this size, only 1, 2, 3 of them out of the group accept, we're able to achieve full price, all cash. But look how long they waited. And that also could be a reason why they had to wait so long, because maybe the owners, the owner insisted maybe on all cash, and they had to wait for that one special unicorn buyer. That's what happened. So that makes sense. Rent, they're talking about a percentage. Some of them didn't have rent, so it's not applicable. So that's like a home-based business. And then the sold price versus the adjusted net. Again, if we're using your 125, this is the number that I'm going to be working with. It's a multiplier of the average. Once I know who to compare you to, because you'll get me the information I need in order to be more exact with you, you'll see the ratio. I'll pull up the most similar 3 or 4 or 5, not all 14. But let's just see. None of them sold for more than 2 years' earnings. The highest one was 1.9, and he took a year to get that number. If you don't have a year, we don't ask 1.9 times earnings. We ask less than. We go for 1.5 times earnings, 1.6. But the average of this group was 1.35. Call it 1.35. So you take your 125, if that's a provable number on the P&L, for one owner in 1 year, one 12-month period, recent 12 months, we would multiply 1.35 times $125,000. That would be what I would expect would be an average if these are the comparables when we have all the information from you that we actually need in order to know who to compare you to. Then I could tell you, okay, I'm not going to compare you to this guy or this guy because they're all commercial, no residential, or these guys are all residential, no commercial, or this guy sold 20 years ago and he included a $30,000 van in the deal, and you're not. So these are the kind of things that we look at. But just as a very rough number, 1.35 took an average of 211 days, 71% down payment. On average, rent is less than 3%. The adjusted net as a group, the average was about 28%. So if we took your 125, and if your average, like the rest of them, I would say your 125 is 28%, or should be to be average of this class, 28% of the gross, right? So I would take my calculator, I'd back it out. I took 500,000, maybe it's a little more. I think 500 would put you at 25%. They're saying 28%, so maybe it's 550 gross. But we'll figure it out. And if we're not 100% sure, we'll make something that works. We'll get as close to the accurate number as we possibly can. That's the adjusted net versus the sold price. And here's the actual adjusted net. The average of this group was 83, which is a little lower than yours. So possibly we have to get rid of some of the smaller businesses, and then that might kick up the average because these guys have smaller multipliers. And the average sold price was 113. Average sales was 305, which I think is smaller than what you have. That's pretty much how it works. This is the most critical number. If you don't want to be on the market an overly long period of time, go with a down payment or allow me to ask for a down payment that's reasonable. Unless you have to be 100%, it'll take longer. If you're going to be overpriced over the average of the ratio, it's going to take longer. There are things that cause it to sit on the market for longer. Some of it is a bad agent's fault. Some of it is a seller that has other issues. Most often what I see is they ask for too much money and too big of a deposit. They think there's a line of buyers that have to own their business. A year later, they wake up and they adjust the price and then it gets sold. That's pretty much where that is. Let me share with you some actives just real quick because I alluded to that earlier. Here, let me just show you some actives. Florida. I'm going to do the exact same thing, except I'm not going to put dollar value in there. I'm just going to put the group of construction, all painting. I think that should help you out. So let me go to submit. And no price points, no dates, no sources of income. Here, I'll put a comment in there so you can read a little bit about what it is that I'm showing you, okay? I'm going to sort it by adjusted net. This guy has 0, and it goes up from there, right? So here, this is Miami Constructor. You can see what's in the market. And keep in mind, he's never going to get 250 if he has no profit and no sales. But people ask for crazy things. 80% of these listings will never sell. Just so you know, that's a statistic. Only 1 out of 5 sell. So these guys can ask for whatever they want. I just showed you what they're actually selling for. But if you don't have sales and you don't have profit, you're not getting 250 and you're not getting it all cash. Sellers make the mistake of doing it all cash. They ask for all cash, but I know what the buyers are willing to pay, and they're not willing. Only 3 out of 14 were willing to pay all cash or have all cash, especially we just got out of a bad recession and we're still with coronavirus. So asking all cash, I think, is a mistake. And asking over the average of who we're going to compare ourselves to is also a second mistake. We work for you. We'll do it any way you want. We just don't want you to get hurt. This guy's doing it smart. He's asking a smaller down payment. Makes it easier, and the audience is larger. Now, is his price proper? I don't know. I think this is high based on what we just saw. He's only making 105 and he's asking 315. He wants 3 years earnings. None of them, we just saw, all different prices, all different earnings. None of them sold for over 2 years earnings. He's never going to get that. He can think he's going to get it and get no appointments, no showings, no offers, no contracts. And then eventually, if this is a good agent, which the BBF agents are top notch, eventually someone's going to get through to him and say, look, I can't get you 315. We just burned up 6 months on the market. What do you want to do? Because that's what happens, He'll either want to sell or he won't want to sell. Here, same thing. 111, 3, right? He's asking 3 years earnings. They're asking for it. That's why they're on the market for 400 days. And the down payment, they're asking all 100% down payment. We know statistically that doesn't happen. These are 12 that are new in the market. They're on the market. They're trying to get sold. Maybe they're doing it right. Maybe they're not. I look at the solds. That's what works. Willing buyer, willing seller, willing to sell, that's sold. Success story. It's very difficult to sell a business. We have most of our deals in the association never close. We could have 3,000 listings and only 800 of them close until the other ones, catch on to what they need to do. That's it. Thank you. My cell is 954-562-2019. It's Eric Wayne, your favorite business broker. I hope you found this informative. If you allow me to prepare you properly, we will get you sold faster than average. Thank you.